And it's fascinating too that you chose to mask undiagnosed. You didn't really know the words for it, but it occurred to you that you needed to play a role, presumably
Mm.
because if you were me, you couldn't have given a crap, right? I'm a dude, I don't care. But like the pressures of being a young woman, a girl, a teenager, a young woman, all these, without even understanding why,
Yeah.
you still knew.
Oh, absolutely. You're sent a very, very clear message. I think, being someone who grows up and is socialized as a girl, you're sent very clear messages about what is and isn't acceptable in terms of interest and the intensity of your interests. And I was told in a thousand different ways over and over again, this is who you can be, this is who you can't be. And, one of the ways that came through very strongly when I was growing up, I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, was a lot of homophobia. So if I wasn't presenting in the ways that were expected for a young girl at that time, I experienced a lot of kind of homophobic slurs. And that was, people couldn't make sense of it, right? Because in the 90s, we didn't think of autistic women. So people weren't reading my behavior as autistic, but they were reading it as other to them in some way. And in the 90s, the easiest way to identify if someone was other was to look at, or one of the easiest ways probably was to look at sexuality. And so that's how people made sense of it. I was often excluded from groups on the basis that I was a tomboy, or what if I was gay, or what if I wasn't like everybody else. It was just a very gendered reading of my behavior.
Yeah.
So, you receive that message very clearly. The other messages I would receive were, I can vividly remember, and I talk about this in my autoethnography, I can vividly remember flapping my fingers in class and kids kind of mocking me and making faces at me and calling me the R word and saying really horrible things. So even if it wasn't read as autistic, even if I couldn't call it autism either because I didn't know, it was very obvious that I was not like the other kids and they wanted me to know that. And if I wanted to be okay at school, I had to learn a way around that.